Test 1 2 test. Hello, is this thing on? Sounds like it's on to me. Just when I have all the answers, all the questions change. One day the world looks so normal, next it looks so strange. Yes, I let that run a few more seconds than I had planned. Not a big deal. Just let it run a few more seconds than I had planned because I had forgotten to turn the power switch on. And my phone is down at 28% battery. I didn't want to run out because who knows how long I'll talk today. Could be a long one, or it might last a minute and 12 seconds. See, that's a joke because it was a minute 12 seconds when I looked down right then and there when I said that. Today is an anniversary. It is April 1st, 2016. And no, this is not an April Fool's joke. And when I say joke, I have to italicize and put quotes around it in my head and in my voice because I don't find April Fools particularly funny. In fact, I don't find it funny at all. But the anniversary, let's get to it. See, it's not that I don't have a sense of humor. I do. I think most human beings do, right? If somebody doesn't have a sense of humor, I feel sorry for them because there's a lot to laugh at. You can laugh or you can cry, I guess, but I choose to find the humor in things. Or do I really choose that? Did I choose that? Do I choose that on an ongoing basis, or is that just the way I am? And will I ever tell you what this anniversary is? Choice. Yeah, let me write the word choice / humor. Let me write that down. Sometimes I refrain from writing notes because I just want to go with the flow, but I'm going to do who gives a fuck, right? And there we go. Every time I mention that I do at least have to earn my explicit tag, whether intentionally or accidentally, and that was kind of a little bit of both. Speaking of choice, or lack of it, the anniversary is April 1st, 1966. My family arrived on a covered wagon. Yes, on top of a covered wagon. We were pioneers. We not only came to California with a covered wagon, but we rode on top of the damn thing. But seriously, folks, I don't even remember what the car looked like. It was 1966, so I just don't. I don't have any memory of the car. I do have a specific memory of this day, though, because it is April Fool's Day. And April 1st, 1966 was my introduction to April Fool's Day. Up until that moment in time, I had not been introduced to that wonderful, most wonderful of days. But as I recall, and you know when you look back in your life, you don't have a lot of vivid memories from your childhood. I don't know, maybe you do. Maybe you have thousands of memories. I don't think so, though. I think mostly the way the human brain works is we just have a handful of memories scattered throughout our lives, vivid memories. I guess buried deep down inside, we have swirling fragments of vague memories in our subconscious, but let's not get too deep into that right now. The vivid memory I have is my parents were inside the apartment's office, checking us in. And it being the first day we arrived, I was not going to school. Instead, I was standing outside of the office waiting for my parents to do their adult business. And kids were walking to school past me, and I remember them saying things to me like, "You have spiders in your hair." In fact, that's specifically the only thing I remember is, You have spiders in your hair. Now, I also remember that there were multiple kids who were saying odd things to me as they walked past me, things that turned out not to be true. But the one that stuck in my head was, "You have spiders in your hair." Welcome to California. You have spiders in your hair. I never saw that on on a billboard. Never saw it on a billboard, but that was my welcome to California. So no, that did not create in me any kind of phobia that I recall. I don't have any. It didn't have any fear of spiders, I guess, any more or less than anybody else. In fact, as I was talking or typing to some people on Facebook today about that, not only do I not really have any kind of large fear of spiders, I actually appreciate the job that they do. I like the fact that they take care of killing bugs in my apartment. And so my choice when I come across a spider, depending on where it is or what it looks like, I'll either leave it alone or catch it and put it outside, because I have become an old hippie and proud of it. So there's that. So that was my introduction to April Fool's Day, is kids telling me I had spiders in my hair. Now, either because of that, maybe that's why I'm not a big fan of the day, but I think it's deeper than that. Again, this is stuff that I put on Facebook today, but since I don't know if you listening to this are also a Facebook friend, you might not have read this, so I can repeat it here. I don't know if my dislike of April Fool's Day has to do with that, the spiders in the hair thing, or if it's just my general dislike for dishonesty, disdain, as I put on Facebook. A timer just went off on my watch, and I don't remember what that timer was for. Oh, I just remember I went to the dentist today, and the dentist said that I had to wait an hour before I ate anything, so hey, I can eat something now. But instead, I'm going to keep talking. I will drink some water. Hold on. Where was I? Disdain, dislike. Yeah. So I don't know. I think my reasons for, I do have multiple reasons for not liking April Fool's Day. I don't really think it goes back to that first experience. I know sometimes one experience can influence us for our entire lives, but I don't think it's that. I think it's mainly just that I don't like dishonesty and pranks. Most pranks to me just aren't funny. And even though, as I posited earlier, I do have a sense of humor. I laugh at things. I find a lot of things funny. I've also been an on again, off again comedian, mostly off again. So I also have, on occasion been able to make a room full of strangers laugh, or not. But at least, the attempts have been there. I don't have to belabor this point. Humor is a subjective thing, but my point is, it's not that like I'm some tight ass who doesn't find things funny. I find a lot of things funny, but I don't happen to find pranks funny. I don't happen to find April Fool's Day funny. And here's a particularly unfunny April Fool's quote joke end quote yesterday that really pissed me off. I saw a post, and first of all, it pissed me off for a couple of reasons, mainly because it was joking about something that I don't find funny. It said that a grocery chain was going out of business and would be closing all of its stores in 2017. And when you click through on it, when I clicked through on it, not suspecting it as an April Fool's joke, because it looked like a very legit article. In fact, it was not on some bogus website that I never heard of. It was at yahoo.com, which, actually does exist, and which is like a supposedly legitimate news source. So I clicked through on it, and it was a very serious, professional, well-done article talking about how the stores would be closing. It gave specific details about the rate that they would, they'd be closing over the next number of months and which state it would start in. I mean, it was a very, well thought out or well executed article that sounded, unfortunately, very much like a real article or articles from earlier in the year where Fresh and Easy did actually go out of business and hundreds of people lost their jobs. Which is, so, oh yeah, I know. Let's say that now Trader Joe's is going out of business because, oh, they can't take the competition and the competition's too fierce and blah, 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 blah. So then I get to the end of it and it says, April Fools, fuck you. I mean, seriously, I've never been, as I've already belabored, I've never been a fan of this stupid fucking day to begin with. But then you put out an article saying that an entire grocery chain is shutting down and a bunch of people are losing their jobs. And you give this very, several paragraphs about the exact plan and how this is going to happen, how it's going to happen, and how many stores are going to close and when they're going to close. And then you say, April fucking Fools? Are you shitting me? And here's the thing. I might not have even been tricked by it, except, maybe if it had happened today, I wouldn't be tricked by it, because on April Fools, my guard tends to go up, and I tend to either not read anything or suspect that anything I see might be a joke, a quote, joke, end quote. But yesterday, it was March 31st, which raises another thing that's pissing me off about April Fools. It's becoming like Christmas. It's people are doing their so-called jokes and their pranks days in advance, all week. I saw some as early this week and maybe even late last week. It's not April Fool's week or April Fool's month. It's bad enough to even have the day, which I could really do without. Have I made that point? But anyway, oh my God. It wasn't funny. You find this funny? And that's another thing, kind of in a related story along the lines of somebody joking about a business going out of business. Oh, that's fucking hilarious. Hundreds of people losing their jobs. Oh my God. Stop. You're killing me. That's so funny. It's bad enough that, somebody's doing that, but then there's all these corporations have been jumping on the April Fool's I don't remember how it started, the bandwagon. That but even then, I kind of sometimes might have been maybe amused by those. Like Google comes out and says, "Hey, we've invented a mind reading app," or something. It's like then at least you could read it in amusement, like you could read an Onion article. And for those of you who don't know, or if you're from the future and you don't remember, and maybe the Onion doesn't exist anymore, but the Onion is satire. When you click on something from the Onion that it's satire. It's not tricking you, unless you're just not aware of the Onion being satire. But it's not attempting to trick you. It is strictly 100% upfront satire. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is deceit. So let's tangent away from April Fools and say I'm going to take this opportunity, since it is April Fool's Day, to talk about something. Let's say choice. I mentioned earlier about choice and humor, like saying I choose to find things funny or not. But do I really choose to find things funny, or is that just the way I naturally look at things? I don't know. The whole nature versus nurture thing. I mean, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to just sit here and figure that shit out when scientists for centuries or have not been able to figure that out. Certain things, you can guess, or they can look in the chromosomes. They can say, oh yeah, we think that this thing right here determines whether or not somebody has a sense of humor. I don't think they've gotten to that detail, but there's examples like that. Like they say, oh yeah, look, this gene right here determines your eye color. Certain attributes, they can determine that. But there's a lot that we don't know. Like, for instance, whether or not somebody has a sense of humor, or the level or the degree on the spectrum of humor where their sense of humor lies. Is that genetic? Or is that environmental? Or a little bit of both? Chances are it's a little bit of both, but I don't know. The same thing with honesty. So let's use this day as an opportunity for me to get up on a soapbox and talk about honesty. which I value. Did I mention that? Now, I'm not talking about the kind of like brutal honesty where you walk up to somebody and go, hey, you're fucking ugly. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about integrity and the truth. You know, when it's when it's valuable, when it's for a purpose. My own personal thing, and I don't want to sound preachy here. If I'm sounding preachy, oh well, what can I do about that? If you hear me as preachy, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not saying this is how you should be. I don't like the word should. There's nothing you should do, or nothing I really should do either, as far as I'm concerned. But one thing that I do value is the truth, or whatever my truth happens to be. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go around telling somebody everything that's on my mind. First of all, I'd be a fucking bore. And also, there's certain things that maybe you should keep to yourself. If you happen to look at somebody and think that they're wearing an ugly shirt, or they're wearing an ugly face, I don't think it's admirable to go, your shirt and face are ugly. Hey, I'm just telling the truth. Yeah, that's what we call being an asshole. And without mentioning him by name, I'm going to say that there is a certain person running for president here in 2016 who is a very large, gaping asshole. Oh, just my opinion, but I am telling the truth. My truth. And some of his devoted followers, I don't like to give him the kind of acknowledgement or power even to say his name. It's kind of like Voldemort in Harry Potter. You know, for a long time they said, he who shall not be named. I think that was the phrasing. I'm not a total Harry Potter geek, but I do know that they used to refer to him as he who shall not be named, or something to that effect. And then after a while they started saying his name, which is probably a mistake. Maybe they should have just kept their mouths shut. But here's the point. I'm not going to mention this guy by name, but let's just say his skin is, you know, the shade of a certain popular citrus fruit. Yeah. If you don't know, if you do or don't know who I'm talking about, it doesn't matter. The point is, this guy has got followers who say, oh, well, he's just saying what's on his mind, and he's just speaking, he's just honest and this and that. First of all, he's not honest, or maybe that's second of all, but no, first or second of all, a lot of what he says, when what he says is checked by fact checkers, and you climb down a rabbit hole, because if you mention fact checkers to his devoted followers, they'll go, well, how do you know what the fact checkers are saying is true? You know, at some point, if somebody who's, you know, running a company that makes encyclopedias, and they have a staff of people who are just digging into facts and, in fact, encyclopedias. That's funny, huh? What a flashback. I'm 56 years old. Did I mention that? Yeah, I was 6 years old when my family moved to California. So I'm 56, and I remember encyclopedias. So now let's put it into modern terms. Wikipedia. Maybe you can't trust that because that's just edited by God knows who, but it's policed by a lot of people entering it. But here's the point. I'm not talking about Wikipedia. I'm talking about fact checkers. I'm talking about PolitiFact, and there's fact checkers out there, people who pride themselves on being impartial, and they look into things. Snopes is another one. Certain people who are just saying, look, I'm not doing this for political reasons. I'm just saying this is true, this is false, or sometimes they'll even shade it. Like, I think it's PolitiFact that does this. They'll say mostly true, or somewhat true, or half true, or mostly false, or if they flat out know that it's a falsity, then they'll say pants on fire. So when this certain citrus fruited skin, God, it's hard not to say his name, but fuck him. And no, I'm not talking about literally butt fucking him. I'm just saying butt fuck him, fuck him. That's not honesty. And even if he's saying what's on his mind, or sometimes maybe he does accidentally tell the truth, that's not the kind of honesty I value. Does that make me right? No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying that when people are out there conning the public for their own personal gain, I don't appreciate that. And I actually feel bad for his followers. Some people are getting mad at his followers. I'm going, well, yeah, I guess I could get mad at them for their lack of research or whatever it is. But, I can't get inside their heads. I can speculate and say, hey, they're afraid. Whatever it is, I don't know. Whatever it is that's making them appeal to what he's saying, I don't know. But here's a personal reason why also I don't appreciate him and his con man, slick Willie, fucking salesman mentality and his bullshit sloganeering is because I was raised by that guy. So that's why I thought, yeah, let me take this opportunity to talk about that. I was raised by that guy. And up until about a year ago, and I even hesitated to even talk about this, but I'm starting to get maybe I'm getting influenced by Mark Maron. I think let's get it out there, shall we? This isn't even directed to him, even though I think, there's an off chance. I don't know, maybe he's lurking out there. I might listen to this. I don't know. I don't really feel like I have anything to say to him or to get anything off my chest to him or about him. But I do have to say something now. I just feel like I do have to say that he's done me a favor. Because a little over a year ago, he had one of his schemes, and I'm not going to go into details other than to say it was just yet another one of his schemes in a long series of schemes, and I didn't go along with his little scheme, and then I haven't heard from him since. And what's beautiful about this is when after a number of months had passed and I hadn't heard from him, and I realized, he's really pissed off at me for not going along with his con artist fucking scheme. He's done me a favor because really, I should have written his ass off years ago. And the beauty of it is he's the king of writing people off. He, for his entire life, has proudly told stories about all these people that he's written off. All these people that he says he's bought for X number of dollars. Because, here's an example. If he would loan somebody $300, and then he'd go to that person and say, hey, I need the $300 back or pay me back. And the person doesn't pay him back. Then he goes, fine. That means I will never talk to you again. I will never buy you. And I don't think he explicitly said this. He's probably saying this to himself, but I don't know. I wasn't there. But the point is, he would say that he bought that person for $300 because he would never again give them the time of day or another penny or never do them a favor or anything, right? So he bought them for $300. My thinking, though, is that in this instance, I bought him for nothing because I didn't go along with his little scheme. And then he's the one who decided to sever ties. And then what's really cool about it is in the course of as the months have gone by, since he severed ties, I realized, holy shit, it's reminded me of my last marriage, my second and last marriage is I'm not the one who asked for the divorce, but I'm thankful for it. I am so much better off for it. I am a much happier human being in the last several years since the initial pain of the divorce went away. And that's the way I'm feeling now too about my ex-father is I really, because of, as I've mentioned, his constant scheming and dishonesty, and can't believe anything that comes out of his mouth. That the only reason I didn't write him off years ago was out of some sense of obligation. Because he's family. He's my father. I need to be thankful. And look, if you're listening to this and you have a good relationship with your father and or your mother, I'm happy for you. In fact, I had a great relationship with my mother. There were a few years there where my sister, oh God, speaking of dishonest, where my sister had driven a wedge between me and my parents, and that's my point of view. That's my story. she'll have a different story because you know why? She's full of shit. That's why. No, wait, did I tell you I had a sense of humor? I'm going to prove it. Because even though I felt myself starting to burrow into a bit of anger there, which is fine because, anger has its place. I don't want this to be about anger. I want this to be about the fact that I'm okay. I'm not in denial. I don't have daddy issues or sister issues. I really don't care. I mean, there are times when I go through this exercise where I just do this check to go, look, let me just pretend that I get the phone call that says one of them or both are dead. How would I react? And this is going to be some cold sounding shit, but it's as true as I can get. You want to talk about the truth, about my truth, about can I handle the truth? Can you handle the truth? And you, once again, are most likely me because, I understand I'm a good portion of my audience. There's a good chance that I'm 100% of my audience, except for the fact that I do know that I have one Facebook friend in particular who sent me a snapshot of her smartphone where she was listening to my podcast, and I thought that just made my day. I didn't realize that I might actually only be 50% of my audience. So thank you to my at least one loyal listener. I don't know. I guess I could mention her by name, but I'm just not going to. Because why? I don't know. Like out of respect, or is that disrespect? I don't know. Her name's Janet, so there. Hi, Janet. As if giving away their first name is going to somehow like invade her privacy. Where was I? Oh yeah, talking about humor and letting go, and that's it. I really do have I have my ex father to thank for being unreasonable because for whatever reason I just didn't have the balls or whatever it was, or like I said, I guess I rationalized by saying I was just being respectful and continuing to have this long distance relationship with him over the phone over the last number of years since my mom died. My mom died in 2003, so I can talk about that without crying. It used to be not possible, but she's been gone for a long time, and I valued my relationship with her, both in person and long distance. And to this day, I still have no fucking idea what she saw in my dad. I really don't. That woman was a saint. So what I was saying is, yeah, for a while there, and nobody's perfect, like I said, because even my relationship with my mom was strained. We didn't talk to each other for a while. I don't remember how long. God, I think it was going on 2 or 3 years back in the early to mid 90s because of some misunderstanding that my sister had created. But I have to put some of the blame on my mom as well, even though I like I said, when I say she's a saint, I mean she's as close to it as I've known. We had a great relationship. I credit her, whether genetically or environmentally, for making me the sensitive person that I am. I sure as hell didn't come from my dad. I mean, my recollections of him growing up, it's not like had the shit beat out of me or anything. It's not that kind of terrible, tormented thing. It was more the kind of the stereotypical father of that time. And when I say stereotypical, I'm going, I don't know if this is true. I don't know how many fathers were actually like this, but I've heard enough stories to go, well, I guess a lot of fathers were like this, just mainly distant. He was the king of his castle. When he came home, it was not about, oh, let's hang out and have fun with dad. It was more, even if we were in the middle of watching a TV show, boom, didn't matter. That thing went off. The channel got clicked to whatever my dad wanted to watch, and he sat down, and we kind of either sat there quietly or went to our rooms. So, again, I'm not talking right or wrong here. I'm just saying that's the way it was. was that the worst father in the world? No. I mean, we didn't lack for anything. We had food, and luckily I had my mom to give me the love and the hugs. So, I don't think I had a terrible childhood. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that as I grew up, and any kind of relationship I had with my dad it was always guarded up right through a year ago. I mean, there's a lot of things I couldn't say to him. He could say whatever the fuck he wanted to me, as far as I could tell, because he said a lot of shit that offended me. And rather than creating any kind of controversy or arguing with him, I just didn't have the energy for it. I just, okay, yeah, whatever. I just either be quiet or change the subject. And okay, that's my own fault, but that was a choice I made. Speaking of choice, now that I know was a conscious choice I made, because over the years there were times when I had conflicts with him, and I actually did grow a pair of testicles and or a spine, and I had arguments with him. I told him what an asshole I thought he was. What a racist, bigoted asshole I thought he was. And again, this is just my truth. Maybe he's really a swell guy. I don't know. But my impression of him is not that. So there's your truth. Here's April Fool's. And like I said, I didn't really plan on making this a therapy session or something talking about me and my daddy issues or not. I really don't feel like I have anything necessarily to say to him. The only reason I'm saying this now is because I just kind of feel like it's been unsaid. It's something to say about me and my situation and my life and where I'm at, and the fact that I do find family very important. And here is the family that I find important. My kids. There you go. That's it. And anybody who makes this argument that, well, no, family is everything. It's like, yeah, to a point. I mean, I feel bad for people who feel so obligated to their family, because I've been there in those awkward situations where they'll go to the family get-togethers and complain about the fact ahead of time that they're going to go, and then they'll have a miserable time and then complain about it after the fact. I go, just fuck them, just don't go. But they're family. Who gives a fuck? There's 7 billion people on the planet. You can hang out with a lot of people who are not unpleasant to you, who treat you with respect, and who you can say whatever you want to. You can speak your mind, and it doesn't mean that they will agree with you. I'm not talking about surrounding yourself with yes men, people who think everything that you think, and I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about people who won't jump down your throat every time you have a differing opinion, or you can say what's on your mind, and they won't call you stupid. Or there's certain people that I want to be, I am unfiltered around. Like right now, I'm doing my best to be unfiltered here, which is why, I don't know, I'm repeating myself, but I said, it's not even so much that I feel like I had to get this off my chest, as I thought, there's just something about April Fool's Day and the whole dishonesty thing, and the deceit and the pranks. And I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of the reason why I don't just even find that amusing is because I saw that in real life. I grew up with a sister who tormented, maybe is a good word. Hearing this static here, speaking of tormenting, every once in a while I hear the static when I'm talking, and maybe I'll figure out one day where that's coming from, but I guess it went away. Or was that just in my head? Let's see, maybe tormented is going a little overboard, because, anybody who has brothers and sisters, you poke each other in the sides, and you fuck with each other, I guess. But I don't recall going out of my way to do that to her. But she was the kind of person who was always teasing and telling lies. And I just, why am I hemming and hawing here? My family, my parents called her a storyteller. She didn't lie. She told stories. Oh, she's a storyteller. Isn't that adorable? No, No, it's not adorable. It was not adorable. And my memories of it are not that it was adorable. It's it's storytelling if it's presented as such. When you go to a play and there's actors on a stage, you know that it's pretend. They're playing. That's why they call it a play. But in real life, when somebody presents to you a story and it's full of lies, that's not the same thing. But the thing about people in denial is that they're full of euphemisms. I think that's one of their special skills. Never underestimate the power of denial. One of my favorite quotes from American Beauty, the movie. So yeah, she was not an honest person. So I severed ties from her years ago, and then we had kind of an on again, off again reconnection after my mom died. We would just basically text each other happy birthday or Merry Christmas or whatever, but it really never became like a full-fledged relationship because I can't have any kind of relationship with anybody that I don't trust, that I don't believe. What is really the point of having a relationship with somebody where your guard is always up? I mean, what, for practice? Just so you can have practice for being around other people where your guard is always up? I have a better idea. I just have fewer and fewer, hopefully zero, people in my life where my guard has to be up. I mean, even at work, where kind of by the nature of work, you're not going to say everything. Like I'm not going to talk about this kind of stuff to people at work. I'm not just going to volunteer and go on a teleconference and start going, well, let's get started with the meeting. But first, let me tell you about my lying piece of shit sister. Oh my God. Wait, was there anger again? Yeah, see, I'm not going to fool myself. Am I in denial? I would not know if I were, would I? That's the thing about denial. You don't know when you're in it. But here's the thing I do know. I don't trust her. And I also don't trust my father. And the only reason I carried, at least looking back over the last, since I decided that if my dad ever does change his mind about reaching out to me and reconnecting, I'm not going to reciprocate. My most honest response to him will be none. Sometimes the most honest response is no response. That will be my response to him. I don't want to talk to him anymore, have anything to do with him. And it's not that do I feel weak because of that? I've questioned that. I've questioned myself. Am I weak because of that? Yeah, let's just say that. Let's go along with that. Let's just say I have to acknowledge my weakness because I can't tolerate the poison. So is it saying, is it bad for a person to say, well, you know what? I decided I'm not going to ingest this cyanide because it might kill me. Well, you're just weak. If you really were strong, if you were a man, you would take that cyanide. But, oh, well, okay. This has been a reenactment. I mean, seriously, I don't need that shit. I don't need it. I don't want it. I'm not going to get into the semantics of the difference between wanting and needing. I'm not going to have it in my life anymore. And here's the thing about choice. I may not know whether I can choose to have a sense of humor or whether have I chosen to value integrity. Is that something my mom taught me, or is that just something I was born with? I don't know. My sister was raised by the same mother and father as I was, and she's dishonest and I'm honest. At least, again, that's just my story. Maybe I'm fooling myself. Maybe I'm a deceitful motherfucker, and these people are just wondering what's wrong with me. That could be. That might be. But you know what? The only story I have about myself and my family is that I'm not a con man. I'm not a fucking snake oil salesman. And the two remaining people from my nuclear family that came to California on April 1st, 1966, they are. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And that, my friends, is a choice. And the way I know it's a choice is because I could pick up the phone right now and call one or both of them, but I choose not to. And for years, I did have a relationship of one sort or another with them, and now I don't. So, yes, it's a choice. And that feels like a stopper. That feels like a stopper right there. If you have anything to say about that, let me know. Future me or Janet. I don't know. I feel like maybe I should put a button on this, and there's something I should say to wrap it up, but not really. This has been my story of April Fool's Day and maybe why I don't like it. Because just of all that stuff I said. So I'm not going to wish you a happy April Fool's Day. Instead, I'm going to say goodbye until I decide that there's something else I'd like to babble about. Later. Just when I have all the answers, all the questions change. One day the world looks so normal, next it looks so strange. Looking over the ocean on a sunny day. I'd like to stay here forever, it would be okay. La da 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 da, la da da, do 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 do. Life will continue to change. You gotta get used to it. You know it's all part of the game. You win and you lose to it. You gotta get used to it.